Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. The official arrival of summer this week brings with it many cherished seasonal traditions. Pools will be partied, Barbies will be queued, and back sweat will accumulate with alarming speed and moistness. In the tech world, though, the summer is usually marked by a bit of a lull, as many manufacturers devote their time to prepping for big launches in Q3 or Q4, closer to the holidays. But this is summer 2025, and if the year thus far can be characterized as a metaphorical, out-of-control freight train speeding towards a bridgeless gorge, the summer lull is kind of like a cool slow-mo shot the director cuts to as the locomotive plummets into the ravine below, which should make for an interesting fall, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, we can report that Nvidia is apparently enhancing their RTX 5090D GPU, bumping up a cup size to double D. AMD seems to have a 6-core X3D CPU in the works for budget AM5 gamers, and despite what you may have heard on my GPU Price Watch series earlier this week, there actually are high-end GPUs available at MSRP. All you've got to do is enlist. I'm doing my part on this week's Tech News.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Thermaltake's View 380 XL tempered glass ARGB mid-tower chassis with an innovative dual-chamber design and angled front intake to direct airflow towards components, keeping even power-hungry high-end PC builds cool while maintaining an unobstructed view. Hey, that's why it's called the View 380. Keep things clean with hidden connector motherboard support, keep cool with 4 included ARGB fans and multiple radiator mount locations for up to 360mm AIOs, and have fun building with plenty of room for cable management and added storage. For more on the View 380 XLTG ARGB from Thermaltake, click the sponsor link in the video description. Let us begin with the upcoming Nvidia GeForce RTX 5090DD, a product named so suggestively it's as if Nvidia just wanted to say, get a load of these. Obviously, I could take a couple different approaches here. Boobs, the low-hanging fruit option, if you will, or I considered the classic Double Dragon reference, or perhaps both. Let's cover the details before any of us get too excited though. If you weren't aware, the best gaming GPU in the world, the RTX 5090, was banned for sale in China by the US government, prompting Nvidia to make a cut-down version called the RTX 5090D that slipped in just beneath those export restrictions. Gaming performance was pretty much identical, but some said they could still feel the difference. It just wasn't quite the same as the natural 5090s. Still, due to more limited AI performance, it was okayed for export, at least for a while, but the finicky old feds have now decided to ban it as well. Specifically, both the GB202-300 that the 5090 uses, as well as the GB202-250 from the 5090D are now off limits for sale in China. So now Nvidia is putting the 5090 under the knife yet again, or so says generally reliable hardware leaker Megasize GPU on Twitter, whose titillating name works nicely with this segment's running gag. The 5090 Double D will actually be a reduction, though, versus the Single D, despite the name's implication, using a new GB202-240 die and a reference non-Founders Edition PCB. The existence of Nvidia's Double Ds was further supported by Copite7 Kimi on Wednesday, who also added a CUDA core count, 21,760, same as the other 5090s, but the VRAM allocation has visibly sagged. The current 5090s have 32 gigabytes, but the 5090 Double D will be equipped with just 24 gigabytes of 384-bit GDDR7 memory, which again is a notable reduction that will implant some justifiable frustration due to potential confusion between the three models. And lastly, there will also be a surprise, which I'm guessing is a blank check for AIB partners in China to adorn these GPUs with only the most buxom of anime waifus, or perhaps they can only be imported to China via motorboat. Speaking of big, beautiful GPUs, the OG RTX 5090 is still on a lot of gamers' buy lists despite all the negative press it has gotten. It remains the top dog in the PC gaming game, and some people just want the best. It's understandable. Finding one for sale for less than $3,000 can be a challenge though, especially stateside, but another retail option was revealed Monday by Redditor Accomplished123, who snagged a Founders Edition RTX 5090 for $1,900 after discounts when they spotted a mysterious locked cage of goods at the Nex, aka the US Navy Exchange Store. There were several RTX 5070s and 5080s, as well as a single 5090, still chilling in their brown box packaging from Nvidia, as you might have seen in some unboxing videos earlier in the year when they launched. All were for sale at MSRP. But before you grab your keys and Google Map yourself to your closest Navy Exchange Store, perhaps thank a veteran for their service first, and then see if they will go GPU shopping with you, since only active and retired military families are allowed to shop there. Other branches of the military have similar stores, and although there haven't been any reports of Nvidia GPUs for sale at them, it might be worth checking out if you're both enlisted and an avid PC gamer. And if that does apply to you, thank you for your service as well. Moving on to some AMD news, we have a handful of new CPUs on the horizon that have been confirmed directly by Team Red via recent driver release notes. This info was first spotted by Melodic Warrior on Twitter, and the headliner is the 9600X3D, which we can safely assume is a 6-core 3D V-cache-enabled chip following in the footsteps of the 7600X3D. Now, all we currently have is a list of hardware that is compatible with the Radeon AI Pro R9700 per the system integrator driver release notes, but assuming AMD isn't going completely off the rails with their naming schemes, there's a lot that can be inferred. If the 9600X3D is a 9600X with 3D V-cache added, it will have 6 cores, 12 threads, a 5.2 GHz boost clock, 65 watt TDP, and 96 megabytes of L3 cache. It will likely be a desirable CPU for more entry-level AM5 builds focused on game performance, if you don't mind that some newer games are actually recommending 8-core chips now, but it remains to be seen if it will be a Micro Center exclusive product like the 7600X3D was. Melodic Warrior seems to think otherwise. They say the 9600X3D will first be offered to system integrators, with a later release to the DIY market at the end of Q3 or beginning of Q4. Since this info came from system integrator driver notes, that could very well be true, and would hopefully mean easier accessibility for builders who aren't in range of a Micro Center location. Along with the 9600X3D, the notes listed 4 new Ryzen Pro 9000 series CPUs that we don't have much further info on as of yet. And in some separate but related news, an AMD AGESA update recently listed a Ryzen 7 9700F as well, which is almost certainly an 8-core without integrated graphics. So AMD seems prepped to start rolling out some iGPU-less versions of their 9000 series parts as well. Meanwhile, on the AMD Radeon side of things, I have 2 updates. I was recently able to directly ask AMD about their expectations for RDNA 4-based Radeon RX 9070 and 9070 XT supply, and whether that would be getting better anytime soon. And the good news is that the answer was yes. I wasn't given too many specifics, but AMD did notice the demand for these GPUs quickly after launch and took action to produce a lot more of them. These decisions can't be implemented quickly in the world of chip fabrication though. I usually get about a 6-month time frame estimate when I inquire how long it takes to go from an executive decision being made to more products arriving on the shelves. In Q3 though, which is July to September, I'm told the 9070 supply will get much better, which should hopefully mean 2 things. MSRP or better availability for those who want to buy one of those cards, and more competitive pricing for higher-end Nvidia cards like the 5070 Ti and 5080 due to the existence of other competitive options. The second update is about the next generation of AMD Radeon graphics products, which are in development. The architecture is known as RDNA 5 or UDNA, and products based on it are expected to launch in 2026 per videocards.com. We will surely be getting more trickles of info about them between now and then, such as this week's nugget from Kepler_L2, HDMI 2.2 support for the GFX 13 display engine that underlies RDNA 5, going up to the 80 gigabits per second mode, which is actually lower than HDMI 2.2's peak transfer speed of 96 gigabits per second. DisplayPort support remains undetermined, as does many details of Radeon's next-gen GPUs, which are currently called Radeon Next. A bit on the nose, don't you think? And now let us quickly transition to tech briefs, where the tech news has been enshortened to ease digestion. Intel continues to struggle along under new CEO Lip-Bu Tan, whose plans to right the listing ship are coming into clearer focus. Slash and burn. 15 to 20% of Intel Foundry workers will reportedly be laid off in July, around 10,000 souls across Intel's global workforce, apparently without severance pay too, as they'll be eliminated based on performance. So you're fired, and you sucked. Or you sucked, and now you're fired. Intel's marketing team will also be restructured or essentially eliminated and replaced by outsourcing those tasks to third-party Accenture, because outsourcing always works thanks to the added efficiency of another management layer in the business structure. On the other hand, I can't recall many noteworthy Intel marketing campaigns since...
Thanks, Steve.
No, not that one. I guess Intel Inside from like 15 years back. So perhaps some new ideas could freshen things up a bit and distract from all those employees that they just axed. Speaking of wielding a big axe, GamersNexus posted another installment of their Tariff investigation series on their consumer advocacy channel, running about 2 hours in duration, and try as I might, I could not make time to watch it quite yet. But thankfully, Redditor RaptJesus did, and wrote up a brief summary as shown here on the hardware subreddit. It's notable that many subcategories of PC hardware are still being tariffed, such as thermal grease and coolers, while many companies have been trying to set up workarounds that still add to end user prices. Pre-builts and console prices are up, as well as many cases on the market, but I appreciate a succinct bottom line evaluation. Tariffs continue to cause higher prices, supply chain chaos, and business uncertainty for PC hardware. Closing out with some interesting non-PC tech news, DARPA has apparently set a new record for wireless power transfer with their immaculately acronymed Persistent Optical Wireless Energy Relay, or POWER, program. This uses frickin' lasers to transmit power instead of clunky cables, and they managed to shoot 800 watts of power 5.3 miles or 8.6 kilometers for 30 seconds, up from the previous record of 230 watts being lasered across 1 mile for 25 seconds. No indication of how efficient this process is, but the ground-to-ground tests they're currently running could eventually be switched to surface-to-air transmissions, or surface-to-air back to surface, for long-range power transmission or to power drones in flight. And then in phase 3, they aim to shoot 10 kilowatts of energy up to 125 miles or 200 kilometers away, with relays capable of being installed in conventional airplanes. So I know, we're all thinking the same thing. Finally, we'll have the technology to host an RTX 5090 powered jumbo jet LAN party. The future is bright. But there you have it, guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles that I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested in reading more, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.